Hey, and welcome to our very first lecture for International Business Law. This will be the worst quality recording that you get from me, which hopefully is not too bad. I'm doing my best here in Vietnam to just kind of get an intro recording up and running before I return. So welcome. As at this moment there are 18 of you in this class. Really looking forward to working with you. Was just really wishing that this got itself a bit more organized a little bit earlier. My name is Catherine Nolan. I will be your guide, your friend, your worst enemy, your facilitator in this course. You can contact me here. That's my email. This is my phone number. Right now, because I am traveling and probably ongoing, quite frankly, because I am busy. I run my own practice. I'm work at a couple of different universities in both business schools and in law schools, so I can be a little bit hard to catch on the phone. Teams is basically your best option for me, using that phone, that email address, and I look out for the messages. Send me an email. Just as a general rule, like I said, I'm busy and I'm pretty good with tech on the whole, but I do sometimes, more than once, have had a tendency to read an email, think I need to be somewhere else to reply to this, and then forgot to mark it as unread and then missed it. So if you've gone 24 hours with sending me a message and you haven't heard back from me, or if you're concerned about it and it's stressing you, send me a text message, or call me, or just resend it. I'll be embarrassed, but it's better for me to be embarrassed and answering you than for you to be sitting and waiting. And look, it might not happen. There have been semesters where it hasn't happened. Should be relative. I'm relatively responsive, but I am busy. Another thing is, don't know about you, but I get a lot of random spam calls at the moment. So if you call me, which you are very welcome to do, please leave a message with your name and telling me that it's IBL, and then I will definitely get back to you. But otherwise, I will not get back to you if you don't leave a message. Another way is to just text me and say, hi, I'm Joe Blow from IBL, can't wait to speak to you, and look, hey, I'll be fine. Again, are we traveling? I think we fly out on the 6th of March, so before the 7th of March, if you want to send me a more direct message, WhatsApp will work rather than my text. But Teams, everybody loves Teams. Please use that if you can. Okay, let us move on and start our program for international business law. So what are we going to do this week? Basically, like with most of your subjects, I think you'll find we're going to start with an introductory session. I'm going to give you a bit of an overview of the kind of things we'll be thinking about in this course, and I want you to be thinking about what business law is, and why it matters. Again, kind of basic questions at one level, but really quite tricky at others. I want to talk a little bit about conflicts of law in particular. I think that will be really useful to us as we kind of get our minds into what are the kinds of issues that business people need to think about when it comes to international law. One of the things I'd like you to do, if you haven't done it already, is just, if you're listening to this lecture and it's convenient for you to do so, stop for a minute. Well, not immediately, because you need to listen to what I want you to do, and head on over to Canvas in the introductory page. And one of the videos that you'll find embedded there, I'm not going to throw it into the lecture, that would be a waste of time, yours and mine. What I'd like you to do is just have a look at that little, it's quite old now, advertisement for HSBC as the World Bank. It's quite amusing, it's quick, but one of the things that it does is really highlights how we are all creatures of habit. We are all creatures of our own culture, and whether that is business, in transaction business, in dealing with disputes, in dealing with money, the way that our culture impacts the way that we think about the world impacts the way that we do business. Now, look, I'm really aware of that at the moment. I've just spent a couple of weeks in Japan and now spending a couple of weeks in Vietnam, two Asian cultures that could not be more different in so many different ways. And when it comes to doing business, when it comes to the kind of ways that we speak to each other and our expectations, they have really similar but also really, really different starting points for a number of things. And those are the kind of things that we need to bring into our discussion of what international business law is and how law impacts international business. Understanding that our lens is only one version of the truth is a really important part of successfully navigating the world of international business and international trade. And in order to do that, we've got to think about the way that law can potentially conflict in different places at different times. We also need to think about this idea of globalization. Where can I write on the screen? Globalization. Sorry, I'm going to keep writing on the screen as I go, partly just so that you can find things on the timestamp, to be perfectly honest, if you're going forward and back. So one of the things that you'll see once you read the John Moe chapter is you'll be thinking about this idea that international business law is both a consequence of and an agent of globalization. There is an interdependence here that we need to think about. So when we think about the world as a global environment, but we think about the law, so we have our domestic laws, we have the world as a whole, and it's really easy to think, well, this part here is international law. But what does that actually really mean in practice? Because domestic laws impact the way that we do trade outside of the domestic sphere. And the domestic laws of the places that we want to trade also impact what we can and we can't do. And when those conflict, we have significant issues. Let's move on. Oh, sorry, that's why I have to undo all of that. So in the tutorial, let me get rid of this. Sorry about that. Basically in the tutorials, basically the first tutorial will be held in the week starting 11 March on Wednesday the 13th of March at 5:30. I'm going to put out a quick poll to ask you whether you would want to do that online or face-to-face. If everybody wants to do it online, I won't show up, but we'll get a room somewhere and I will do it as a hybrid shoot. I'm also interested in knowing whether or not you want these to be hybrid or face-to-face. They only have to be face-to-face. I believe I'm supposed to record them. So if I'm supposed to record them and we can work well in a Teams environment, then I'm happy to do them that way. Of course, I'd love it if you were all there face-to-face. Please do that. Please pick that because it can be really weird just talking to a screen like I am now. So of course, first tutorial, we want to get to know each other a little bit. I'm going to answer questions that you might have about the assignment. By the beginning of that week, there will be a lot more clarity around the assignment. The first assignment question will be released for the 20% assignment that you're going to do, and we'll be looking at some current affairs and news and trying to position ourselves. So introductory tutorial, and then in week 3 we'll dive into topic 2. So essentially each week at the beginning of the week you'll receive recorded lectures like this one, only 3 times better, to quote Zoolander, and then in the following week we'll have a tute to match the lecture or the topic there. So should be pretty straightforward. I like a pretty interactive tutorial. I really like to try and find some practical, fun ways for us to do things. I hope you do too, because making up games and ways to learn actively is kind of my shtick, so to speak. So before we do anything more, one of the things I'd really like you to do is just stop for a minute and think about it. What is international business law? what are we talking about when we talk about international business law? Already I've drawn a diagram on the slide showing, well, there are domestic laws and there are international laws. What does it mean? What do you think it means? Really great. Stop now, write yourself a note. We'll talk about it in the tutorial anyway. But take a moment before you've done the deep dive to think about, well, what are my expectations of international business law? Now, why does that matter? For me as a transactional lawyer, I find it's really useful for me to stop from time to time and try and remember what it is to not know about something, and to put myself in the shoes of my clients. My clients can have really what to me as a lawyer feel like really weird expectations of what the law does. You are in the unenviable position at the moment of being right at the beginning, so you haven't thought about these things yet. And so it may well be that you have a really strong opinion about what you're looking for in international law. Like, you might be one of those people who is thinking, well, why doesn't some international court go and do something about what's happening in Ukraine or what's happening in the Middle East at the moment? Surely there are international laws, and we hear about this all the time, the laws of war, etc. Why aren't they doing something about it? Let's think about what are our expectations of international law, and because they also feed philosophically into our questions about what the nature of law is and what our expectation of the law is. As we work through the course, we're going to basically cover off on these topics. You'll see basically this is we've got topic 1, 2 covers these weeks, 3 over here, 4, 5, 6, 7, that's a 7, 8, and 9. And then we've got a summary and a revision, which we've called topic 10, but that's just because it's not really a topic. It's going to go back onto all of these things. The first couple of topics are for your first assignment. Your first assignment will be due in week 5, which is quite late. I've been given a little bit of a whack over the year because your assignments are quite late, with your last assignment due at the end, essentially, of week 12. Now, I'll be working like the clappers to get feedback to you on that so that you have the feedback and advice. That means that you can do the best that you can in the exam. Well, it's not really an exam, it's a take-home assessment task. The nature of that we'll know more about in a couple of weeks, and so you're really well positioned to do as well as you possibly can in this course. So let me just get rid of all of that scribble before we move on. In future videos, you'll get less of me narrating what I'm doing because I'll be able to do some editing. It's a little bit harder in the situation I'm in at the moment. So that's our basic timetable. Couple of assessment tasks that you have. You got the legal issues paper, which will essentially take the form of a compliance plan, effectively explaining legal issues to a business audience. You'll then have a research project which will be accompanied by a 3-minute presentation and ultimately a take-home assessment task. They will be discussed in a lot more detail in the first tutorial we have, and you'll look out at the beginning of week 2, the week that starts on the 11th of March, for a little bit more information about the first one in particular. Okay, reading in this course. You're doing a law degree, so my guess is that you are probably pretty familiar with lots and lots of reading. If you don't like reading, you are really in the wrong degree path, but that's a matter for you and those who care about you deeply to work out. The key text that we're going to use is John Moe. I wish we had a little bit more up-to-date version, but at the end of the day, it says 2015 there. The online version that we're using, I think, is 2016. There are links to it on Canvas. Should find it pretty easy to get hold of, and there are plenty of copies. One of the things you might not realize, if you're trying to read something and the library sees that you can't get hold of it because we don't have sufficient licenses. It does happen sometimes. Unlikely to happen in this course, quite frankly, because there are so few of you, but the library will fix that within minutes. Well, actually 24 hours is kind of a calculation of minutes, isn't it? So what can we do about that? But always feel free to use the chat in the library to tell them I'm trying to get hold of something and it's active and I need it. They are super helpful. I absolutely love them. So John Moe, look, it's a legal text. It can be pretty dense and dry in places, but it is well researched. It's an example of some good type of writing, referencing for this kind of, for the research paper elements of your the work in this course and just generally anyway, and it really provides a lot of the depth on the academic and legal content that we're looking at, and my job, as I see it, is to assume that you have read that material and to try and contextualize it and bring it into practice for you in some way. I've just decided to put my head on that person who is reading a book because that amuses me. In addition, in Canvas, the wonderful Jonathan Coleb, who I'm sure you will meet along the way in this course. Jonathan is the one who designed the course. He is now at the Business and Human Rights Law Centre at RMIT, and he researches in particular in relation to business and human rights. So those of you who've come to this course because you are interested in ESG, so in environment, social and governance aspects of international law and trade, and those of you who are interested generally in business law at a transactional level or at a disputes level will find Jonathan's research absolutely fascinating. Really nice guy too. In fact, many of you will have had him, I suspect, in civil, so you know already what an awesome fella he is. So Jonathan has put this material together. I'm facilitating this time around, and so I haven't done a lot of changing to the canvas. The way Jonathan has presented it is he has got quite comprehensive written notes for each module as well, and these can be downloaded from Canvas. Again, they're, as I said, they haven't been updated or changed. I'm not exactly sure when they're dated. They might change from module or topic to topic, but they've been last reviewed by him when this course was last offered in 2021. And again, part of my job as facilitator and your job as active learners in this space will be to look for and identify and really tease out what's happened since in the last 3 years or so as this course has been developed, or since it's been developed. Those module documents, each of the module pages has other links to useful materials as we go as well. And of course, as these lectures are prepared, I will update and I'll add the lectures to that section. Actually, I say that out loud and maybe I won't. What I'll probably do is do a link to a module that will just have all of the lectures in one space, so you can find them week to week and then put a link on the pages to the specific lecture. That's as much about efficiency as anything else. Again, there is no one right way to do this. I know what I do and the efficiencies for me. I'm very happy to explain why I won't take your advice if you've got some suggestions from me, but mostly I probably will take your advice actually because, well, why wouldn't I? You guys know what it's like to learn, and you've seen a lot more teaching in this program already than I have. So you know what works. So if you've got suggestions for me about how I can deliver things well, how I can work for you in a way that works for you, please, please, please just let me know. I love learning too. Okay, a little bit about expectations. Again, don't really want to belabor the point, but the more engaged you are, the more engaging this course will be. Come to it with curiosity, come to it with an open mind, come to it thinking about what questions do I have that haven't been answered? Let's tease those out. Now, I can't promise you that I'll be able to answer your questions all the time. They say there's no such thing as a stupid question. That may or may not be true. I'm absolutely sure there are such things as stupid answers, though. And I think it's the questions you ask that are interesting. It's the difference between a good lawyer and a great lawyer is, in theory, a good lawyer knows the answer. A great lawyer is the one who knows what questions to ask, and who knows what the issues are here. Now, we often use this IRAC kind of model as we're working through things. It's actually interesting. I've recently decided that I want to call it IRAP, not only because it sounds cool. Does it? I don't know. I'm a lawyer. My definition of cool was pretty limited. But I think what we're always trying to do is, in fact, I would always put the M beforehand, which is the way I learnt it, which is for the material issues. So what are the material facts? What are the issues that are involved? Having this complete meltdown as to what the language is that we use, but clearly what are the rules that apply to those issues? How do the rules apply to the particular facts that we've got? And then normally we would say tentative conclusion. I say no, actually our job as lawyers is to make a prediction. If you're a judge, your job is to make a conclusion, but let's face it, we're rarely acting as judges here. We are actually predicting what would a court do faced with these particular material facts, the relevant legal issues that arise, these rules, etc. So, many of you will have done ethics. You know that in theory at least, no good lawyer, no ethical lawyer will take a matter to any kind of court without actually believing that there is some chance of victory, some chance of actually winning on the particular point. So they are predicting how a judge will deal with a particular situation, a particular circumstance. What's particularly interesting in an international law context, of course, is actually there is no such thing as the international court as such. Like, there are clearly international courts, but they don't work in the way that courts work. And we'll be talking Australian courts work, or as we understand them, as the way that you learnt about them in your initial jurisprudence subject, your initial legal process subject. Sorry, little pause here while I stop the drawings on the screen again. There's got to be a way of doing that better. I've got to work that out. I'm working on a tablet in a hotel room. Let's see how we go.